Hi QA folks. Let's talk about how you can approach setting up QA process from scratch. For example, if you're being transferred to a new team and they are organizing processes and QA processes from scratch, or if you are just joining a new job and they didn't have any QA on board and you are the first one and they ask you to build the processes. So what questions should you ask from yourself and your team? That's what I want to talk about today. So first of all, ask about and understand the current release process and schedule, how often deployments happen, what is the current path to production, what teams are involved and how. Why it's important to have this knowledge or to understand what is currently happening, what is the current process within the team and company. Because for example, if they release to production every week, then most likely it makes sense do not focus on manual testing, especially on UI since it's slow, but rather just create comprehensive automated test suite for on the API level. And again, if you are releasing every week, you might just don't have even enough time to run all your automated UI tests because usually they are slow. It takes a few hours, or maybe even on one of my projects, the whole regression had been run for more than 24 hours. Then it will take some time to analyze the results and so on. So that's why it's important to understand which or how much time you will have for which tasks or subtasks. So again, understand the current release process and schedule. Then you can meet with each team lead involved in releases and ask about common bottlenecks or issues or challenges from their perspective. I'm talking about developers, team lead, DevOps, customer support, product owner or owners, and think if you can address any of those issues along the way while building the processes, the QA processes. Do not be afraid to talk to other teams because all of you have a common goal, smooth releases. Here, why you should do this, because sometimes after, let's for example talk about developers, they might have some issues. They passing a lot of bugs to production. They don't have any unit tests in place and so on. So probably they should start writing unit tests, and that you can discuss with them or understand how you can help from your side. The same from DevOps who is doing deployments. Maybe they have some specific issues. Customer support, they might tell you, for example, that again, some of the features are not behaving well in different browsers. We have a lot of the company has a lot of customer complaints about something works in one browser but not in the other one. So probably you can plan that you will test, and you should test in different browsers to catch all the bugs. So stuff like that. So it might be really useful if they agree to meet with you. You cannot force them, right? So, but if they are friendly and collaborative, then feel free to talk to them. Just a short, maybe half an hour call with them to understand if you can, what are the current issues, you can help them while you are building the processes to include something. Then decide on the more practical side, more related to QA itself, decide how and where you will store test cases and test documentation, meaning that where you are going to write your test cases, test scenarios, Will it be just Google Documents or Google Sheets, or you have some test management, full test management, test case management system in place, like TestRail, Zephyr, or you will store it in Jira or whatever. So decide what is available from systems and subsystems, and if you can consider using some paid tools, and go from there. But anyway, you will have to store your test cases and manage them somewhere to show how many, to get statistics, to create executions, and so on. Next, as a team, decide what kind of test reports or metrics do the team need to make decisions of go no go to production. Sometimes on some projects that I worked on, it was just oral approval from the conversation. At the end of the sprint, before the release, they asked Slava, have you tested everything? Everything looks good, or you have any concerns? I said, yeah, we addressed most of the issues. It can be deployed. No concern from my side, but we will still have to fix all minor bugs. Sometimes it was a comprehensive test report document with all the conclusions, listed bugs, and so on. It really depends on the company and the team, what team is willingness to do, what's not. But anyway, you should set up expectations or for yourself and for the team, what kind of test reports you will be providing, and if they need them at all. If they don't need any kind of written standalone document, then it doesn't make sense to waste time on writing them if nobody is going to use them or look at them. So this is something also that has to be discussed with the team. Next one, discuss with the team, decide or ask around how many test environments does the company have, where applications can be tested. For example, the company might have, or your team might have dev environment where developers are deploying their tasks few times a day, daily. It's not really suitable or stable for QA perspective. Then another separate standalone QA test environment, staging of UAT test environment, and the production environment. It's also considered as an environment to pass to production. And decide which environment will be used for what needs and what will be the pass to production. For example, developers will be doing their stuff on dev. You do not touch or interact with dev environment. You will be started testing only on QA each feature testing. Then everything will be combined and deployed to staging. And you will run regression testing in staging of UAT test environment. And then you will run production smoke test in production itself. Some company has 3 staging environments, 5 QAs, like 3 devs. So it's really important to gain this knowledge, how many test environments are there, who is supporting them, who is creating them, and so on. So you should have full understanding of what test environments are available to you as a QA. Next one. Document all decisions along the way and put them on Confluence. A lot of companies using Confluence. It's old wiki engine. So, previously it was called wiki. So every team member has access to those documents and decisions. So just document your processes that you're building, put them on Confluence, send the link to the team that for example, pass to production is described on this page, send the link, QA process for specific tasks on this page, this article, and so on and so on and so on. So don't forget to document all the decisions and put them somewhere. Next one, ask the team how often and who will handle deployments and to which test environments? Do the company have DevOps and they are handling all the deployments and feature delivery to test environments? Or it might be developers themselves, or maybe they can put it on the shoulders of QA. It's not really a good idea, but some companies don't care and put this on QA. Anyway, here you can also decide the process of collecting items from Jira, what is included in which particular deployments, and release notes. For example, you can use labels or components or fixed version fields in Jira to collect all completed merge tasks, to know what tasks have been deployed, when and to what test environment. Some teams agrees to follow this clearly defined process. In some companies I was suggesting that and they didn't want to do that. So it really goes down to discuss everything with the team, what they agree to do and what they don't. But anyway, you can ask about it, at least suggest it. Next important item, don't forget to reflect current status of the tasks in Jira. I see that a lot of developers and QA do not even move tasks in Jira from to do to in progress when started working on it. So that's not how it's supposed to be. In Jira, everyone should see the current actual state of the project. If you're working on something, change the status of your task in Jira or any other task management system that the company will be using. Move it. Do not forget to close the tasks when you finished working on them, and so on and so on and so on. What is already, so everyone will see what is already has been tested, what is awaiting testing in your to-do list, what is deployed by, what is ready for deployment, not ready for deployment, has been deployed, and so on and so on and so on. So it's really important to have this visibility or to provide this visibility for the team. So, and usually it can be done only using task management system like Jira. So do not forget to move your tasks to according statuses. Next one, decide with the team what is the definition of ready for testing. For example, if development is completed, all unit tests passed, tasks has been merged and deployed. In this case, we can consider task. We can consider task as ready for testing because on one of my projects, developers were moving tasks to ready for testing right after they just committed their code to their branch. Didn't merge, didn't deploy anything. Basically, you don't have this task anywhere to test, so it's not actually was ready for testing. But they didn't care and put it as ready for testing because there are only like 3 or 4 columns on the Jira board. So decide what is considered as a definition for ready for testing, so everyone would be on the same page and understand that if something is not deployed, we QA cannot test it. So they really cannot move something to ready for testing if it's not deployed anywhere because we cannot test it. Next, decide what with the team, what is definition of ready for release to production, or definition of done, that task has been implemented, deployed, tested, no major bugs, only all test cases are in Jira, you demo it, you showed the feature to a product owner, he's satisfied with the results and agrees that this is what he wanted. And then task can be considered as done right before, after ready for production, but it will be done after it will be deployed and tested in production. So again, also some acceptance criteria for definition of done. So everyone in the team will understand where each task can be considered as done. Each developer should be ideally responsible for the tasks along the whole way to production. So their job shouldn't be finished after they committed their code and forget about it. No, if some bugs come up, they should fix them, deploy them, be responsible for their task, be interested to their task to reach production and to satisfy end users. Next one, decide how you are going to support deployments to production as a team. Will there be any developers available on call if something goes wrong? For example, in some companies they have war rooms, meaning just few people, one QA, one dev, joining the call during the exact deployment to support if something goes wrong. Some companies and teams doesn't do that. They just checking everything only the next morning. But anyway, this process should be also defined, so everyone would be on the same page what to expect from who on the day of release, deployment to production. Also, the separate item, decide what exactly will be tested in production, and do not forget to test in production after deployment to make sure that all the features reach the production has been successfully deployed. You'll be surprised how many times I've seen wrong branch was deployed to production and features were not actually supposed features actually weren't deployed. DevOps were saying that they deployed something that developers provided to them, like from specific Git branch, but it was a wrong branch, and so on and so on and so on. So it's really important to check in production that your features that you tested are actually up and running in production, have been deployed, and everything works fine over there as well. Your job doesn't stop after you tested everything in QA. You should also, as I said about developers, they should be interested in moving their tasks and supporting each of their tasks along the way to production. The same stands true for QA. From QA perspective, always test in production that production is up and running, your features, newly developed features are there, they deployed everything correctly, and so on. It might be not just full-blown testing, of course, just a smoke test to see if everything is up and running. And I would also discuss with the team what will be the process of handling defects found in production or escaped to production defects. Because sometimes the company has separate customer support team, and they are handling all the deployments or maybe even testing in production after deployments, gathering or analyzing issues reported by end users. Sometimes you will not have separate dedicated support team at all, so everything will go straight to your mailbox or to your Jira, and usually those customer production issues have the critical priority and should be handled right away after you receive them. For example, if you are testing something in the current sprint and something is run in production, and they ask you or reporting you a bug to analyze, ask you to help developers to analyze something, usually you should stop working on your current tasks and switch to production issues. But again, it also should be discussed as a separate process and documented, so everyone would know what will be the process, what for handling such production issues, what developers are supposed to do with them, what QA is supposed to do with them, in which order, and so on. And if we talk about each and every task you supposed to test, just a reminder that every task will have, from QA perspective, will have separate life cycle of few stages. So for each task in Jira, you should analyze the requirements of user story to understand the task, then plan the tests, resources to understand the deadlines, how many QA people do you have in the team, maybe you're the only one person, it means that, and if the team plans to implement 10 features or 10 tasks within one sprint and you are the only one QA person, you cannot work in parallel, right? So you will be able only to test one by one, and you might don't even have enough time to test all of this feature during the sprint. So that's why it's important to understand how many QA resources do you have, what are the deadlines, think about the strategy, scope of testing, tools. For example, you can use curl command for API testing, or you can automate API tests right away, or you will test it manually using Postman. This is what I mean by saying tools. And the scope, meaning that you will be testing most likely most of the features from functional perspective, not from performance perspective. If the team wants you to test, to do some performance testing or load testing, then it will be even more work for you, so you should plan accordingly. And again, when you answer all these questions for yourself, you will be able to understand if you will have enough time to test everything within the given timeline. So analyze requirements, plan some tests, understand the deadlines and everything, then design the test, meaning write test cases themselves. Honestly speaking, these three might go all together, might be done all together. For example, you taking a look at the story in Jira, you analyze everything line by line and write down each test cases that you can think of. So yeah, these three can be performed together, let's say, even before task is implemented and delivered to test environment. You don't need a working feature deployed somewhere in order to write test cases for it. All of it can be done before the task is implemented itself, based on the description, task description in Jira. If you don't have enough details, go and ask developers, clarify requirements. Again, these three all together. Then after feature is implemented and deployed to test environment, you can create test execution in Jira or either in test management system, again, TestRail or whatever. Execute tests, report defects. Then after everything will be tested, all the features are tested, retest bug fixes, and perform regression testing, because usually we should be targeting to retest everything after each and every code change. So it's really important to do regression testing after all the features and bug fixes has been done, so you will have exactly the same code base that will go to production. So you will have, don't forget to plan some time at the end of the sprint or iteration for regression testing. I don't know, 1-2 days depending on the feature and your product. And write any needed outcome documentation, test report if needed, update test cases in TestRail or any other test case management system. So these are the tasks or stages of each tasks within, regardless of each and every processes described in here. And final thoughts, there is no universal golden bullet way for silver bullet for all the projects. Different companies using different approaches, different team sizes, type of working environment, and so on and so on and so on. So that's why it's just important to ask these questions and understand what can be used, what cannot, what will work, what won't, and go from there. So ask questions, discuss with the team, agreed as a team on something that all of you as a team are going to follow these defined processes, and then after each iteration you can do retrospective meetings and see what works, what's not, what needs adjustments, what needs to be changed in the processes themselves, and so on. So you can start at least with this. That's it for this video. See you in the next one.